It's time for MacBreak Weekly, episode 185. Today, Andy Ihnatko, Merlin, Mann, Alex, Lindsay, and I talk about iPad's first orders, the new features that we're discovering in the iPad, and a whole lot more. MacBreak Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 185 for March 16th, 2010, the day the clown cried. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Gazelle, the easy way to sell or recycle the used gadgets lying around your home or office. Don't just sell it, Gazelle it. For a 10% bonus payment for your used gadgets, go to gazelle.com/MacBreak, bonus code MacBreak. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers all the Apple news of the week with our Apple experts, starting from my left, Mr. Alex Lindsay of the Pixel Corps.
Hello.
PixelCorps.com for that multimedia guild of artists who are training, learning, and working together. PixelCorps.tv for the wonderful podcasts you do. And there are a ton of them. Many.
And we're already gearing up for our next big show. We're getting ready for NAB.
When's that?
So that is that's the middle of April.
I'm going to send, I'm for sure going to send Colleen down to that.
We should do
Maybe
some live
Dane.
stuff from there.
Yeah, I won't be going, but many of our staff
there.
will. That's a big event for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Also here, Mr. Merlin Mann of 43folders.com.
Hello, boys.
Great to see you, my friend.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
And he did not go to South by Southwest this week.
I didn't.
This is the
I wish
artist
I
at work.
could've.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll talk about South by in a second. Andy Ihnatko is also here from the Chicago Sun-Times and his website, The Celestial Waste of Bandwidth at www.cwob.com. Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Great to have you here. We are all today celebrating, in one way or another, the birth of Jerry Lewis 84 years ago. 1926, Mr. Lewis was born.
I'll have you know that here in this studio, all the camera operators, the sound guys, the floor chiefs, and the directors, they're all in tuxedos. And people are going to ask me, why are they in tuxedos if they're not on camera? Because there's something about a man in a tuxedo. The tuxedo elevates his game. He takes his work more seriously. And that will come through in the final broadcast.
So you are 1980s Jerry.
I am early, late, post Percocet.
We had to actually draw lots to see which Jerry we could be, and I'd like to be the kid if you don't mind.
Yeah.
He was kind of a wild. We'll talk about Jerry in our Audible ad because he was quite the character, Some great stories about Jerry Lewis. Let us get to the first story of the Mac world today, and I guess it would be Friday's opening day for iPad orders. And while we don't know exactly how many iPads were sold, because Apple isn't saying, there are a couple of bloggers, one blogger who counted serial numbers and said 152,000 in the first weekend.
It's not bad.
There's an analyst who said it's much higher than that. And Apple is reportedly producing, or claims that they're producing like 5 or 6 million in the first year. They're expecting very high sales.
Yeah, I think the rumor right now is that it's about 30,000 a day that are getting pre-ordered.
Yeah.
Oh, but let's make sure we accurately convey how this is being reported. Sales have now declined to 30,000 a day.
Right.
Of a device that no one has seen.
Right. It's amazing. There is
our cheese.
It's pretty
for
amazing
Apple
though to have a business where you can generate $70 million without shipping anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many levels to this that are fun. I agree with you, Andy. It's funny. I saw that. I guess it was Gruber that linked to that. And so, we're really worried now because it's kind of plateaued and it's really kind of petered off to 30,000
yeah, exactly.
of something that's not available yet. That another version of is going to be available in a few weeks. That you don't really have to pre-order in order to buy one of the hundreds of thousands. My
Did you order one? Who ordered it?
Yeah. My wife doesn't listen to this. I pre-ordered.
Yeah.
But But it is funny to me because it's, if you read the Macalope or you follow any of this stuff, people are just looking for any let me just stipulate, I'm always the guy who doesn't want to I don't want to oversell this thing till I've seen it. But on the other hand, the reporting is very funny, especially in the context of looking at any other computer company. Is there any other electronic company that has this kind of response to something ahead of time? And they're just looking for all these kind of make-believe reasons to think that it's not going to be a success, and it's ludicrous.
Did you see that the market cap of Apple is now number 3?
They're closing in on what?
They
beat Google.
They're going back and forth, but no, I think they're past Google. They're going back and forth between Walmart.
Jiminy
they
Christmas.
passed Walmart for a couple minutes today, and they would be third behind Microsoft and Exxon, who are about another.
No, but that's just stock price.
Yeah,
it's market cap.
It's just market cap.
And the stock price went down like 1% on Monday because what? Because the sales had tapered off.
Had
stock markets.
They weren't buying 100,000 a day.
This is why I don't listen to the stock market. It's just not. It's not.
This is why I don't invest in the stock market.
Yeah, it's not a credible source of information.
Yeah,
Andy, you did an article in the Chicago Sun-Times, a good article about 7 things we now know about the Apple iPad that we weren't sure about before. You want to run through those?
There was it was a big day on Friday, chiefly because I was going through so many emails from so many people, but quickly realized that Apple had not just opened up the store for the iPad, but they also went ahead and greatly updated all of the pages describing the product. So there are a lot of things that are now in the product specs that weren't there before. Among them, the idea of support of Bluetooth, because Apple sort of very pointedly pointed out that, and because it works with Bluetooth, this will work with Apple's wireless keyboard, which seemed like funny that they weren't saying it will work with any Bluetooth keyboard, but now the text is updated to say the iPad will work with any Bluetooth keyboard. So theoretically, any keyboard you have in your closet right now will work just fine. The biggest one of them all for me personally was the little line that says that iBooks the iBook application will work with any EPUB formatted book. So I presume if it's not non-DRM content, but that should mean that if you download something from exactly,
that's huge.
The line, the exact line is the Books app uses the EPUB format. As the most popular open book format in the world, that makes it easier for publishers to create iBooks versions of their favorite reads. And you can add free EPUB titles to iTunes and sync them to the iBooks app on your iPad.
So that's what everybody's been asking me. If I get an iBook, can I download arbitrary books and put them on my my iPad? So the answer is yes.
Right. It looks like you'll be responsible for downloading them yourself. It looked from there's still a lot of blanks left to be filled in here, but the wordage makes me think that it'd be more like an iTunes syncing sort of thing, where you can sort of introduce it into iTunes and then tell iTunes, please sync these books. It would be great if there was a file association with the EPUB format, so that if I tap on a download link in Project Gutenberg in Safari, it automatically hands off that dot extension and makes it available in iBooks.
Well, you can make that yourself, can't you? I mean, you just do that yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Change that in the with a default default application.
Right.
But what's really invigorating about that is I think all of us have been wondering all along whether this will have some kind of parity with what's made the iTunes Store successful. Which even before the Alex and I talk about this every week, but before the apps even came along, I think one thing, if the iTunes Store went out of the box saying all you can have is DRM'd AACs.
That would have been horrible.
A much slower adoption.
Yeah,
but now, I mean, I may not need iCaliber to have my books sync up. I like iCaliber okay for what it is, but I really would much rather have something. And if they can pull that off with the companies they're negotiating with, think about what that does for Apple in the long run. Again, they become the hub. You're not relying on some kind of cobbled, with all respect, some cobbled together Python app to do your syncing.
What do you guys use to convert things to EPUB? Because I'm going to have PDFs. I'm going to have other things that aren't in PDF. Maybe PDFs will sync. Probably they will, right?
I just use Stanza. Stanza will convert to any convert from any format to any format. A couple of features that people don't really use that they should is the ability to convert even desktop Word documents and Office documents to EPUB formats. Also, you can just simply give it a URL to any web page, and it'll turn that web page into an ebook.
Well, that was another thing we learned, which is that the version of Pages that will be the $10 version of Pages that'll be on the iPad will not only read but also write Word files,
which the current one does.
Yeah, but
For business, I think that's a big deal.
But that was a new thing. But the other cool thing is that's another piece of sort of boilerplate that was appearing in just about every single iWork app. You can easily share the documents you create in Pages in a few ways. Attach them to an email as Pages files for the Mac, Microsoft Word files, PDF documents, or upload them to the iWork.com public beta. And there's a text in every one of these apps that simply says that any document you create in these apps can be shared with not just with other iWork apps, but also with just about any other app that's visible to the rest of the OS. So
we really see a lot of business folks who don't do a lot of heavy computing, just wanting to have an iPad that they can
read and modify a Word document.
Yeah,
fantastic
for salespeople. I think that's going to be
a lot of people are buying. And very painfully, Windows mobile devices, Windows mobile phones, so that they can read and write their Word documents or their Office documents. This would be a great alternative.
I think the iPad's going to make a great presentation tool. So I think that being able to...
Well, and this is a question, maybe you know this, Andy, because we ordered 4 iPads. You can only order 2 at a time. So I ordered 1, and then I had Lisa order another. I ordered 2, and Lisa ordered another 2. And the $4.99 one, because I'm happy with 16 gigs. I don't think I need more than that. I'm not going to put much music on it. No, I got sidetracked.
We were talking about
being able to convert documents for businesses.
Presentations. I ordered the VGA dongle. Right. They have a $20, we've never seen this before, iPod connector to VGA output. So, Andy, do you know, or does anybody know, what's that going to output? Will it just be movies that I play back on this? Is this just for looking up into a TV? But
we don't know we don't know yet. They've made mention of both movies and excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm contradicting myself. They've definitely made mention of Keynote being able to be used as a presentation device.
Huge.
They haven't specifically mentioned using it as a video out for your video content. I don't know how they would work it so that they would produce a dongle that only works for video with one application. So I'm working with the theory that it will just be a general display out device. But again.
I wish they would they would finally let us actually see the interface via video output. It's so frustrating.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Wouldn't that be cool if you could see the whole iPad on VGA? I mean, the first thing I'm going to do, it's going to arrive April 3rd. It's a Saturday. I'll be doing the radio show. I hope that VGA adapter comes, because the first thing I'm going to do is plug it in. I've got a VGA out right here, and I'm going to see if I can broadcast the video, if I can get the whole iPad. That'd be fantastic.
You would have to wonder why they wouldn't do that, especially considering that they've already opened it up to mechanical keyboards and stuff like that. So not that they're going to invite people to please connect this to a VGA display and use it as a desktop computer, but that would be sort of a very overt thing for them to say. If they have the choice between saying this will just be a generalized video out device, and no matter what you want to output from it, even if you just want to demonstrate your iPad to people, we will let you do that. That would be one thing. If they're going to say we're going to be very, very selective about how you can output video, that would be a pretty bold gesture.
And I don't get the thought process around the iPhone when they don't allow it to be outputted, because I mean
that's why
they know how to do it. They do it every single time you watch when they're up on stage, they're doing it. They have a version they have a connector that lets you do that.
And it looked like, by the way, Steve, when he was showing it off, did not have that big fancy thing. You remember they had a back on the thing. It looked like he was just playing it off the dock. I couldn't really tell, but I was looking carefully to see what they were using. Yeah. Maybe this is it. Maybe. That would be huge. Then suddenly we could show iPhone apps. We could show all this stuff.
That's half the reason we haven't gotten our iPhones, because we're just not happy with when we shoot video of it. You're shooting a video over someone's hand. I mean, it's just annoying.
Think also about, if my theory, my longstanding theory ends up even being partially true, that they're trying to become the hub for all your digital stuff. Think about the use case. I used to do this with my iPod all the time. I would bring that little the cable with the red, white, and yellow output from the triple jack or the double jack, and you can watch it in a hotel room. And I think that's definitely a use case. And if you're gonna try and take a business market seriously, I mean, obviously you're gonna have to get into the dongles with this stuff if you're gonna deal. But I think that's a tremendous use case, is either a hotel room or a sales presentation. Because I agree with all you guys, as a presentation device, this is unbeatable. If I have to go do a talk somewhere, if I could just bring this thing along and plug it in, and just basically put it on the podium. I don't know.
Ryan Mack in our chat room is saying that Road 27 is saying, according to the SDK, and I think the SDK may have capabilities that are actually not part of the iPad, but according to the SDK, there is the capability of mirroring or second display out, just like a real computer. So it makes sense that would be the most useful choice.
It'd be great.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andy. I'm sorry.
No. All I was going to say is that I think we're going to see much more of a press for business use of the iPad than we might have guessed a few months ago. I'm sure that of the suite of commercials that are going to come out in May or June, there's going to be the one that it's the old, I'm into gaming, so I have an iPad. There'll be the hey, I'm into videos, so I'm into an iPad. Right. There's going to be a business one because I talked last week about that user survey that went out where you drill through lots and lots of questions until you get to like the nougaty center of the stuff they actually want to know about, which is okay. Let's assume that you're using this for business. Do you think that you'd use it to do a presentation from? How important is Word to you? So I really think that they're going to be pressing that button pretty hard.
This is good news. Also, in your article, you said that there is a file system and apps will be able to access the file system. So essentially, you'll be able to get arbitrary access to files, right?
Well, not necessarily arbitrary access, but that does sync up with other stuff that's been written about how individual applications will work with individual files. The idea that each one will have like something akin to a public folder where you can't see the entire file system, but like there's
somewhere you could put documents.
Exactly. So that if you have like an extra like a workout program, it can at least, and you want to tell it to please share my workout data with other apps, you can press a button, and then suddenly when you go into hypothetically, you could then go into numbers. Numbers could look for any Excel type file that's on the device. It would find that file that just got created. Now you have a nice chart of how abjectly you're failing at keeping up with your marathoning plans.
So you don't have to do some kind of weird roundabout way of uploading to a website and downloading from somewhere else. I mean, that's what you kind of.
I mean, if I worked at Ecamm right now, I would be spending a lot of time on the iPad version of Phone View because I use Phone View almost every day.
What's that?
People don't know about Phone View. Do you guys use it at all? Andy,
No.
you use it? It's made by Ecamm, the folks who do this call recorder app.
Oh, I know Phone View. I do have that. Yeah.
Well, it's it kind of takes all these pull your songs out of your iPod apps and really kind of blows it all open. I'll get you a screen grab.
Does it still work? I mean,
oh yeah.
Okay.
It works on my iPhone. I use it all the time to pull off. You can pull off all your text messages. I do it because I want to stay synced with one computer. I don't want to mess with the foo. You know what I mean? Like if you get, like I did a thing for a while. I was syncing my photos with one Mac and my everything else with another. Well, now I just once a week or so I just pull up Phone View and just drag everything off of my iPhone, and you have access to all the files. It's like magic. I'll do a screen grab for you. But it works great. And so I guess what I'm getting at is what's the analogy? I'm thinking of that app I love so much, Expand Drive. Which, you take something that used to seem really arcane like SSH, and now it's just a mountable drive on your Mac.
Right.
Somebody's going to find a market opportunity for doing that with your iPad.
Right. You
know what I mean? You plug it in, and they'll figure out a way to make it mountable. I think that's going to happen.
But getting back, what people are saying based on developer docs is that you won't have access to the full file system. You won't be able to go to user/lib/sys/, but each app will have a public folder so that when you mount it on your desktop, it will look like a USB mass storage device. You can drag files in and out of these individual folders. Not only that, but also that other apps could see into these folders on the device. So that's one of the first things I'm really looking forward to beating the hell out of when I get my iPad, seeing how well this works. I keep saying that it's not so much. You can't get into being a feature slut. And making that into really the way that you say, well, I'm going to produce a table of 3 columns, and I'm going to put this device in this column and this device in this column, and the fact that this one doesn't have a phone jack means that this other device must be better because it has a phone jack and the other doesn't. You have to really make sure you stay focused on the idea of what you can do with the device as opposed to what it says in the specs. I don't really need an open file system on a device like this, so long as I have the ability to easily put my own documents into it and get my own documents out of it, and also so that for $500, I should have a suite of applications that all work together without having to have a Wi-Fi base station connecting 2 different computers.
I don't want to change the subject, but I think we got to move through this list. There's 7 items. A lot of people asked me on the radio show about accessibility on the iPad, and I said, well, I assume it's going to be similar to the iPhone, but I don't know. looks like accessibility is very serious.
That's seriously aggressive. VoiceOver works throughout the entire system. So if you have vision problems, it will speak the interface to you. I don't know how well it will work, given that there's no such thing as like a mouse hover on this. I think we'll have to see how you're going to tell it. Please describe the interface to me and where I need to tap.
I do that with a tap. I do that with a tap sometimes, where I'll tap and hold to see what the resulting. You know what I mean? If you're in Safari, if you tap and hold, it offers you to open, copy, etc. That's a hack, but I wonder if it could do something similar to that, where you tap and hold and it would read you the result after so many seconds.
Right.
Yeah, but the problem is that if you have extremely low vision, how do you know that there's a button here that I need to tap? But we're not talking about this. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
We're not necessarily, of course, we're not necessarily talking people who have no vision, but very low vision. Right. And even for that, they have wide. They can give you white on black. They can give you huge zoom scaling. It's very, very big. Also, interestingly enough, they've also added speakable text to the iBook app. So any page that you want read aloud, it will read to you aloud. I don't know if that extends to the entire book. Remember the kerfuffle that the book agents had about speakable books on the Kindle. But at least you can simply turn the page and say, "Please speak this page," and it will use apparently the same voice system that's in macOS 10.
Can I show you two things? First of all, let me blow your mind with an accessibility thing nobody knows. Right now, if you're in front of your Mac, hit Control Option Command 8.
Control Option Command 8. Wow! Everything turned weird, except it didn't on my screen, unfortunately.
It's great if you're outside. So what that does is that basically does a negative version of every color on your screen. So if you're outside and you've got glare, it's a function that was in there, I think, for accessibility reasons. Right. But if you're in bright light, it's a really great way to be able to see your screen.
Oh, that's really cool. It reverses it.
And if you go to Kung Fu Grip on the homepage right now, I just put up what phone view looks like. I put up phone view and I put up caliber so you can see. But phone view, you can see all I have to do is click in the panel and it brings up all my songs, which I can pull off. And it's kind of cool because you can pull off all of your text messages. I mean, that sounds maybe not that useful, but all your videos, all your anything without having to interact with iTunes. So I'm sure that they'll do everything they can to shut these guys down, but it's a tremendously useful app. From Ecamm.
Well, that's why I asked, does it still work? Because I was...
It works today.
Yeah, I was really...
That's it right there.
I thought for sure it would be broken. This is Caliber, which is the program you use to convert EPUB.
Yeah, the reason I put it up is I wanted to just show you quickly that this is... And again, I mean, nothing against the developers of this, but it's very much kind of like a classic open source Python app. But in that second pane, you can see where basically you see all the choices I've got for changing that. You can set all
FB2, Lit, LRF, Mobi,
it does Mobi and EPUB.
Kindle,
but then
Kindle format.
Then it serves it all on a port. So basically, and I use DDYNS, or DDN, what's it called? You know what I mean, the dynamic
DNS, yeah.
DNS. So I could be anywhere in the world, and I pull up my domain name and a port, and all my books are there that I can grab them from Stanza on the iPhone, which I agree is, Stanza on the iPhone is just outstanding. There's nothing that touches Stanza on the iPhone right now.
And we still don't know if Stanza will be allowed to work on the iPad, but we have no reason to believe not, right?
Last thing with this, though, that's really sexy, I'm really into things where I can pull down my RSS feeds easily. I have an Automator script that every time I plug in my Kindle, I stole this from somebody else, but it automatically downloads my entire Instapaper RSS feed as a legitimate HTML file and puts it on my Kindle. Right. The Automator does that every time I plug it in. In this instance, every time I open up Caliber, it automatically, with like a cron kind of thing, goes out and pulls down all the RSS feeds I ask for and just drags them right on. So you see like their unknown news source, you might see that line. That's pulling in an RSS feed, and every RSS feed I want becomes something I can read on my iPhone on a plane, if you like. It's a really cool app. I'd love to see some of these features come around. And the reason I mention this here is that as Amazon, I think Amazon's model is increasingly their interests are going to diverge from Apple's, if that's not obvious already. And as they try to really throttle what they do with Stanza, which they now own, it's going to be interesting to see how Apple, with the deals they can negotiate, the terms of those deals, what they're able to do to basically make the Kindle increasingly kind of obviated,
And as I scroll down on Kung Fu Grip, I find the next item, which is a discarded Snuggie Deluxe box.
That is not mine, Leo. That is not mine.
Yeah.
I don't like being warm that much. Yeah.
I bought 3 Google Snuggies, so I have nothing to...
Weezer, Weezer, our pal, Patrick from Weezer, they sell them now. They got an infomercial where you can buy a
Weezer Snuggies?
Yeah.
I'd buy one of those.
Sure, they're following the money.
Moving along, confirmation. This is item 5. Follow the money. Item 5, confirmation that location services work even on Wi-Fi. Even from so that means I could use the maps, Andy, with a Wi-Fi only.
Yeah, and that location services was really a source of fear, uncertainty, and doubt for a lot of the people who are sort of already negative against the iPad. You know that Apple bought the technology that basically allows you to use location services based on nearby Wi-Fi hotspots, and so they're
Skyhook, right? Was it Skyhook?
Exactly, yeah. And so on the page describing maps, it says iPad with Wi-Fi finds your location using known Wi-Fi hotspots, and another good thing. And Wi-Fi plus 3G models use Wi-Fi, GPS, and cellular towers, because there are a lot of people, and in those infamous tables of things that the iPad doesn't do. It was spotlighting the phrase assisted GPS to make people think that, oh, well, it doesn't have a real GPS radio when it's just going to go by Wi-Fi base stations. So no, it will work apparently just the same way that the iPhone does, where it will get a rough fix based on cellular towers and Wi-Fi hotspots, then use real GPS to get your location within several yards.
Yeah, I think that was a misunderstanding of what AGPS is. AGPS is not GPS. It is GPS with help from the cell towers, so it gets fast. It gets fast early locationing, but eventually does use GPS.
Because there are a lot of devices that do use fake GPS that way.
Yeah.
Now, does that accelerate the speed of? Does that accelerate the speed of the cold start?
Chiefly because if you're oftentimes you're in that situation, where you get off the plane from San Francisco and you're in Boston, and on a conventional GPS like on my own Garmin, I know that I'd have to wait at least 5 minutes because I just moved my GPS 3,000 miles. It's looking for satellites that are nowhere near Boston now, so it has to start from ground zero, look for any GPS signal it can find, and then make calculations based on that. It already, based on the fact that I turned it on somewhere in Boston and it found a cell tower like 3 seconds later, now it knows what time zone it's in. It knows essentially what constellation it should be looking for. So that cuts down the time, not only the amount of time it's going to take, but also cuts down hugely the amount of battery power it's going to have to consume just to get that first fix.
There's a good Wikipedia article on what assisted GPS is and does, and I highly recommend it. AGPS.
Sometimes I can't get my Nuvie out of first gear. Sometimes I've got to basically go into the configurations, do a reboot, and then basically have to remind it that I speak English and want it in miles, and I have to do the whole reset to get it, to even get it to the point where it goes, are you hundreds of miles away?
Well, I used to have to do that with the first generation iPhone.
I still, with the Nexus 1, sometimes it takes a while to get it locked. When you're in a new, like when I went to Austin, when you're in a new area, one of the things GPS does is download an almanac of satellites. It needs that information before it can calculate where you are. So the first time you're in a new area, it usually is a long time before you are able to get a signal lock. But then thereafter, it's fast.
One of the things that I think that someone should do, I don't know whether they can manipulate the current structure or whether someone has to, but I think some kind of local positioning system that a mall or a museum or a park could
I'm
use
sure that'll happen.
that gets accurate to the foot or half foot, and really knows exactly where you're standing in front of
especially when you're inside, because there's no GPS signal without.
Well, you look at those stupid. I went to the King Tut thing, and it in San Francisco, and you have this weird thing that you put up against your ear.
You should know exactly where you are so that it can tell you.
You just walk around and it tells you, and then we don't have to hand out those stupid things.
There must be something like that, because there are museums where they give you an iPod. Or an iPod Touch, rather.
Well, it's probably easier to triangulate inside of there. But it's funny, Leo. Where I noticed this is on Siri. Increasingly, I use Siri for so much stuff. I've mentioned it as a pick before. It's an app. If you don't remember, it's a voice recognition app that does stuff. And I know it's funny. Sometimes I'll fire it up, and it works. It really works. What it does works. I'll say something like sushi near me or ATM near office or whatever. How do I get home? You can actually say that, and it'll give you directions.
There's a real sickness. I noticed at South by Southwest, kind of the Foursquare Gowalla sickness, where you can't, the minute you get anywhere, even if you're going from exhibit to exhibit in a museum, you've got to check in.
That's Skynet, man. That stuff is weird.
I'm starting to think that's kind of somebody said, and I think it's true, Foursquare is kind of the Farmville.
I'm waiting for the privacy 9/11 with that stuff, man. It just freaks me out, some of that.
Well, I don't mind people knowing where I am, but I mean,
I've said this before. My wife and I used to be on Breakkite, and we, like so many things, we used it wrong. We used it as a two-person Twitter, and it was fantastic for that. Except for the times we would accidentally flip a bit and make it public.
Everybody knows where you are, and all the
totally
sexting
creepy.
you're doing.
And it's like what bums me out is, and I don't want to be tarred with this idea that I'm against these services. This is something Dana Boyd has talked about really, really like everything she does very intelligently.
She gave a great keynote. Oh,
Well,
about
she's
privacy.
she's
So
so
good.
goddamn smart, and she says the way she talks about teenagers is kind of how I feel too, which is it's not that I don't care about my privacy, it's that I care about the granularity of my privacy. Like there's certain kinds of people. It's almost how I feel about my iPhone, where like I want a super strong lock on the front door, and then I don't need any locks inside the house. Right now, I have a really flimsy lock on the front door and hundreds of locks throughout the house. With me, I want to be able to say, I don't want anybody but these 2 or 5 people to ever see anything I do on this service. But there's no economy of scale to that for the business. They don't want to make that, candidly, they don't want to make it easy. So I think it's important to separate the functionality of location-based services from the businesses that are leveraging it for these economies of scale. I've had a really hard time finding a replacement for that, to be honest, because it is super useful.
Over.
Sorry, Leo. I've been in a lot of interviews this week. I realize I speak in announcements. I'm going to stop.
It's okay. Over is a good way to signal that you're done. And
Over. Speaking of which, Peter Graves died. But that's for later.
no,
He passed away. Yeah.
the white-haired guy in Mission Impossible.
More than that. You like gladiator movies? Ever seen a grown man naked? It's still funny.
I'm afraid. Yes. All right. Yeah, Airplane you're talking about.
Sorry.
Yeah. And please don't call me Shirley. Confirmation that the iPad, I'm so happy to hear this, so happy to hear this, will support A2DP stereo Bluetooth.
Yep. Or if you prefer some private listening, connect wired or Bluetooth wireless headphones, and it's just you, your favorite tunes, and fantastic sound.
What good news.
Yeah, I mean that's a big deal. I was never a big fan of wireless headphones because for like devices like that, because I'm like, you know what? I mean, I'm the laziest guy in the world, but even I can deal with, you know, a cable like this. You know, that's not a big deal for me to have 3 feet of cable like that in my pockets. But the idea that I can just set my iPad going anywhere inside the car and know that it'll find the audio system and connect to it, that's a really cool thing. It's also one of those blue sky sort of things where I can't wait to see how people are going to really exploit that. It's also a thing when you think about that it does have a VGA connector. Okay, that's good. But how are you going to get audio from the device to the machine? If you have the idea that you can have this pad someplace in your living room, and you have this little box that costs $100 plugged into your home stereo, and essentially you're using this as a mobile iTunes library to control every single aspect of the audio in your house or in that room just via Bluetooth without any extra dongles, without any extra cables on the device. That's cool. That's big mojo.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think? How many of you are going to wait for the 3G iPad? I thought maybe I'd just use it with the MiFi. Now, the only thing I'm losing there is the GPS, right?
You're losing the GPS. You're also losing unlimited data. Unfortunately, you're also losing...
Well, wait a minute. Is it the same kind of unlimited data?
Well, MiFi is 5
gigabyte?
5 gigs.
You have 5 gigabyte cap.
And you think the iPad is truly unlimited, or is that the same unlimited that they've always been talking about?
They've been saying now that's a good question, because when I was talking to Palm when I was reviewing the pre, it said unlimited data. Then I read the terms and conditions, and it mentioned a 5 gigabyte cap.
Everybody says unlimited with 5 gigabytes.
They said we define unlimited as 5 gigabytes. Yeah. Okay, that's not how Webster's defines unlimited. But AT&T has said that frequently enough, and we've seen enough people blow past it without additional charges. That I don't know,
unlimited for what is it? $30 a month?
It's pretty good.
That's the other big deal. That remember that when you buy the MiFi, no matter who you buy it from, you're going to have to buy a contract, and those contracts cost a lot more than $30 a month. Yep. So you're locked in for a year or maybe 2 years. With the AT&T plan, it costs you $30. You're done in one. If you don't want it the next month, you simply say, please don't recur this payment, and we'll simply stop charging you for it.
And you just got to decide whether, because you're not going to be able to tether with it. So like with my MiFi, I definitely imagine using it with my iPad. I also use it with my iPhone, and I use it with my laptop. You know, and actually when we're somewhere, a lot of us use it with the laptops at the same time when we're on the road.
Right, it's $60 a month for coverage via MiFi, but the way I see it is that it's the last $60 a month I ever have to spend to get any of my mobile devices connected to the internet wherever I go. So I had to buy a 3G model because I'm writing books about this, I'm writing articles about this. I need to have access to every single feature and service. But honestly, if I were to just simply spend my own money and I don't have this sort of job where I need to cover that sort of stuff in such detail, I probably would have gone with the Wi-Fi model. maximize the amount of storage, because that's the benefit I'm definitely going to be able to exploit. But I think that's going to be the one of the winning combinations.
Well,
a couple of sites have also turned up web pages from Verizon saying that to their sales teams, their marketing teams, saying that, look, iPad is coming out. This is a great opportunity for us to sell more MiFis, because if we sell the advantages of being on the Verizon network instead of AT&T, the advantages of saying not only are you buying coverage for your device but also for your laptop and 3 other phones besides, we think we can push a lot of devices that way. So that's an interesting bit of commerce.
Now, what someone needs to do is build a case for your iPad that has a little thing that pops into the back that you can pop your MiFi into, and then you just be able to have like a nice little case for MiFi. And then
I will use the MiFi.
I would totally buy that case, by the way.
Yeah. Well, speaking of cases, delays on the iPad keyboard dock, the iPad power adapter, the USB power adapter, now till sometime in the month of May, according to Apple. And the $39 iPad soft case, which was supposed to ship day of, has been delayed to mid-April. The $69 keyboard dock and the power adapter late April.
How do you? Oh, so you power it by you have to dock.
You have to connect the computer.
No, it comes with a power adapter.
Oh, okay.
So that's just on the extra ones.
This is an extra one. Okay.
I was like, wow, that's gonna be a real short trip.
I want that case because that's the now is the
everyone's making a case though. Why do you need that case?
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is
I got my first iPad case in the mail today.
What the hell is that?
What's inside of it?
Holy cow! Quick, get a screen grab! Quick!
Oh my gosh.
No! For God's sakes! If Apple gave me an iPad 3 weeks early, do you think I'd be like, "Holy cats! I just broke my NDA! Oh no!"
It'd almost be worth it.
Unless, of course, I developed a special foam core slipcase for it so I could use it openly. And now the cat has become the mouse.
Not that you have ever, tried to fool us in the past, Andrew.
That looked like a pretty cool case.
It did.
Yeah, it's a scuba case. The guys from Temba are selling them. Temba.com sell it. Unfortunately, I think there was either miscommunication or something. They were sending me one of their new one of their new courier bags just on something unrelated, and they told me, hey, we have a new line of iPad accessories, and so I had them send me like their scuba, because at some point I'm going to have an iPad. I hope Apple's going to let me buy one at least. So it's neoprene. It's a very, very simple sort of pouch. It has 2 D-rings on the back, so that if you want to connect up this trendy shoulder strap, you can wear it like a courier purse or something like that. And also has this little zippered bag over here for accessories. So I think they're going to be. I think there's what you're looking for: 2 different styles of bags that are going to be like this, which are just, I don't care about it being a Voltron and transforming into a desktop and a key station. I just want something that I just want a simple, cheap little sleeve that'll protect it from bumps and scratches. And then you want the kind that transforms into an easel, so I can use it either in this way or typing this way.
By the way, the battery life on that cardboard iPad is excellent, according to Gary.
It beats the Kindle. Now, unfortunately, like in direct sunlight, you get sort of a glare problem. But you know what?
And I've heard the screen isn't as
Leo,
responsive.
can I just point something out,
Yes.
if I may? I don't want to be a wet blanket, but the sales of cardboard iPads are down. They only sold 30,000, with fake monopoly money. So, I mean, I think that's already plateaued. I mean, we're not going to see
You're
anything.
just jealous. You're a hater. You're jealous because I have a cardboard iPad and you
Look at
don't.
me, I'm Rob Enderley.
I'm an early adopter. Now, sure, I'll have to buy the new aluminum one that comes out in 6 months.
Oh, gosh, I didn't know it came with foreshortening.
I'm going to have.
Apple stock price now going up, by the way, a little bit. So I think it's currently at $224.21. So their market cap is going up a little bit. And I think maybe a little rebounding from the naysayers of yesterday who dropped it by...
Well, and there's so many people that are just waiting to see whether it really turns out. I mean, I think there's the crazy people like us who have all pre-ordered and we're just waiting for them to show up. But then there's the normal people who will buy them the day, the week after, if there's any available. I mean, one of the reports is that the Apple folks at the Apple store are saying, that they're not sure how many more orders they're going to take before they just don't know if you do an in-store order.
Well, can I just mention one of them just freed up because I just canceled my reservation.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Why?
You know what? I want it. I don't want it intensely, but I guess I did get it. I kind of think I want to wait. Am I zooming out?
You froze briefly. Go ahead.
No, but you know what? I 2 things. First of all, I was going to just go with the Wi-Fi. But now that you're hearing what Andy's talking about, I probably should wait. And you know what? I want to see if these things are actually that cool. That's a lot of money. You know what? I'm going to wait.
That's such an important point. That's something that I've been trying to make, that, again, those of us who are involved in this podcast have a real reason for wanting to get one early. Make sure that we pre-order one and make sure we can get one on April 3rd. People who are developing iPad hardware and software also have a very, very good reason for wanting to do that. Everybody else, it was an exciting demo. Boy, that streaming video, it was in HD and everything, so it was a great experience. But I wish I were in the sort of financial league where I could spend $500 on something that I've never even touched based on a really cool set of online ads.
Marry me, Andy. I love you so much. I totally agree with you. I mean, the thing is, I have wanted one all along. I hate to make this sound like an overly nuanced thing, but I want lots of stuff that Apple makes. I am a little bit resistant to sort of like what happened with the iPhone. I mean, again, I think I got kind of a bad name for this, but like, I think, trying to become a booster of something that has not even been touched yet is hard. I could see that. Now, having said that, I've used my iPhone enough, and every day I use my iPhone more, and every day I find new uses for my iPhone. So the credibility, Apple's credibility in terms of what they could do with a portable, a mobile touch device is I mean, I have every confidence that would have been a good thing if I bought it. But it is kind of a lot of money, and I guess I hadn't thought through the whole, like...
So you jumped on the bandwagon, and now you got cold feet in your back. And
no, it wasn't really. I mean, I guess you could say that, but I mean, I knew I was going to get one all along. I'm just not. I'm just not out there holding.
They're probably going to make more than the 100,000 they're going to need to fill initial orders. They're probably going to be making more after that. So maybe it'll be in short supply on the first day. But if you can somehow wait a week or two, I'm sure that you'll be able to get your hands on one if you have the money to.
Or it'll be like me. See, I waited on the 3GS, and it took me like a month and a half to get through actually buying one. Well, it was just like every time I went to the Apple store, there was a line for like an hour.
I don't have to worry because I have to get one. I want it. In fact, I'm going to have it,
My arm is being twisted.
No, it's my job. I got to get one.
Exactly.
I ordered 4, but I have to get one.
We're missing an opportunity to, once again, honor our friend Jerry, going back to 80s Jerry, because we are the celebrities here. We are here on television and on the radio, delivering our little minstrelsies to you. But we also have a responsibility that I don't think that the young professionals in this industry should shy away from, and that includes the responsibility to be out there with the give and the love. And if it takes $100 or $500 or $1,000 to be there, to have that iPad in the hand, so that
Andy, I could not agree with you more. This is an industry. The fear is a genius. This is an industry that is full of backstabbing and does not recognize the accomplishments. But the lozenge, I like the little like fake lozenge he has going. That kind of like
smart and short. You have to pretend like you're enjoying a lozenge. But see, the coolest thing for me though is that on April, I think I told you about this last week. I'm going for a week-long show, a week-long conference the day after it ships, and so I will probably have something written about it like on April 3rd. I think the other thing you want to read for me is like when I come back from this conference after a week of the most high-stress use profile possible for a portable computer. So if I'm double in love with it, or if I've suddenly decided that I'm no longer naming my dog Steve Jobs the Cougar.
I have an overnight flight on April 3rd.
What?
I have an overnight, and I'm just afraid I'm not going to be able to sleep once I have it, because I'll just be like,
you'll be on. You'll get it, and then that's good.
Is that the iPad?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you like it?
Yeah, I'm trying to sleep here.
That's okay. Can I use it while you sleep?
You're not going to be sleeping. You're not.
I'll be sitting there the whole time. I'll be like, then I can do this, and then I can do that.
I'm hoping it comes. I hope that we're going to have the door open so the FedEx guy can walk in during the radio show. I'm hoping it comes during the radio show and I can unbox it actually on the radio, because it's a Saturday, right?
Yeah,
it'd be fun. That's a weird thing for Apple to do, because they're going to have to pay more for shipping and everything. I wonder why they did a Saturday. Do you think they want lines? Do you think they're going for the lines? Because people could stay up front. Yeah. Well, in fact, Robert Scoble, who's never been one to avoid a party, has already announced that April 2nd, that night, the night before, Friday night, he calls it Steve Jobs Apple Store, the Palo Alto Apple Store. There will be a party there. And when the iPhone came out, I mean, Andy Hertzfeld showed up, a lot of big names.
Are they going to like open at midnight, or are they going to open first thing in the morning?
I have to think that because they made it a Saturday, that they're planning They want big lines, and they want people to show up Friday night.
They've said if you pre-order, or rather if you reserve one, they say that it'll be available for in-store pickup from 9 a.m. onward.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if that also includes the few stores that are open 24 hours. I'm not sure if that's going to affect, for instance, the Fifth Avenue Apple store. But if there's one store where they want for media purposes to have that big line waiting, and so that by the time the morning shows start airing live, that they can have camera crews showing people who are still happy about a device they don't own yet, as opposed to people saying, "Gee, I thought it would be bigger than this.
Yeah.
How come I can't get onto the internet with the Wi-Fi?"
One last point in your 7 things we now know about the iPad. Magazine apps are for real. What do you mean by that?
That was, that one comes courtesy of AppleInsider.com, who, or at least the first place that I read, someone pointing out that on one of the screenshots on the new revamped iPad site, you see an odd new icon on the homepage. There is no other third-party software, or rather no other unrecognizable icons anywhere on the launchers for any of these screens except for this one icon. And you look very, very closely, and it appears to be the National Geographic icon, the trademark, that yellow rectangle. And then if you can't really make out what the label is, but it would be completely correct it would be not ridiculous to look at the shapes and the size of the words and think that it says Nat Geo. So that I think that's the number 7. That's the last one. I think that was the only one that's a little bit speculative, but I did go to the App Store to look at every single application that National Geographic does. None of them has an icon that looks like that. It would be not incorrect. I don't think it'd be far-fetched to think that this is an example of a magazine application, because if you could think of another magazine that would be a more impressive thing to launch on the iPad on day one, the most brilliant photo magazine that ever existed, with a cachet for not only being entertaining but also being informative. So I really think this they don't do things by accident. I'm certain that they did not have that icon up there if there were not a really, really good reason for them to put it up there. And I think this might indicate that they're really, really pushing the idea of having individual apps that are more media rich than what you can do through an EPUB document, better than what you can get strictly through the bookstore, stuff that we can only get content through via downloadable apps.
Well,
so that's interesting.
I think there's a huge opportunity for magazines to make sure that they're providing content on the iPad that doesn't exist anywhere else. Because that's going to help really drive sales of even their current subscribers who want to have the iPod version because they want to get whatever this extra is. And I think that's going to be a huge push. And if they're smart, they're going to do that, because that's going to give people a reason to buy rather than just have another free access to their content.
Yeah, and you know what? I did. There's this week's column for the Sun-Times is going to be a big piece about digital comics, not just on the iPad, but just in general. And I got interviews with the editors-in-chief of DC, the new editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, the new publisher of DC Comics. I interviewed them separately, and they're both saying the exact same thing, that they both have a lot of goals and a lot of they see a lot of potential in tablet apps like the iPad and other things like that, but their goal will never be to replace traditional paper publishing. Their goal will be to, just like they're very, very pleased to have Batman movies in addition to the Batman comic and the Batman Lego game and the Batman toys, because it's part of the greater universe of their characters, that when they approach digital comics that way and digital publishing that way, it will be a way to help to bring people into the comic book stores to buy the comics as well. So that's exactly what you're saying there, Alex, is exactly in line with not only what these comic publishers are talking about, but also what a lot of other publishers have been talking to me about.
You do have to wonder why Apple did it, but somebody in our chat rooms pointed out, and they're absolutely right, that if you were to bookmark the National Geographic site, where you take a site and you put it on the homepage, you would get exactly that icon. That is the favicon for the National Geographic. So,
okay, I'm a loser.
I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, Apple put it there for a reason, obviously. I mean, they know that people look at this stuff like it's, the Holy Grail. So, I don't know. Is Apple trying to prank you?
I don't think they're trying to prank me, but it just, I keep going back to the idea of why would they include a bookmark or something? That is an excellent point. What's the URL? Nat Geo?
NationalGeographic.com, and that is the favicon. It's exactly that. And if you take that on your iPhone, I think if you take that on somebody should do that on your iPhone, you're going to get the same exact icon
And save it as Nat Geo.
And save it as Nat Geo. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. You can do that. You can do that yourself.
No.
A little detective work going on right now. We're going to take a break while you guys are doing that detective work.
It's like we're the Hardy Boys or something. We're having an adventure.
While they do the detective work, we are going to talk a little bit about our good friends at Gazelle. What a great idea for a website. We've all got old gear that we want to get rid of, sitting around in the closet, sitting around in the drawer. Maybe old cell phones, MP3 players, laptops, gaming consoles. Well, here's a way to get rid of it and get some money, too. Gazelle, GAZELLE.com. If you go to gazelle.com right now, you can enter in the device you've got, tell it what condition it's in. Now, important, a number of people said, hey, I didn't get as much money as I thought, because you've got to be accurate. You can't, you got to say what the quality of it is. So let's say I have an old iPhone. Now, and by the way, as soon as you enter iPhone, it starts giving you the choices: 2G, 8 gigs, 2G, 4 gigs. Make sure you do this accurately. Let's say we have a 3G, 16 gig iPhone. You could search for it. Now, here's what happens. It'll tell you, depending on the condition, what they'll pay for it. And I'm going to say I've got the 3GS that I'm going to get rid of. And can it make a call successfully? Yes. Free of water damage? Yes. Rate the overall condition? Well, it's not perfect. It's got some, it's not exactly brand new. Do you have the original cables, the AC adapter? Yes. Calculate the value, and they'll pay you $352 for it. Now, here's the beauty part. You say add the box. They'll send you a box, prepaid shipping box that you can then load your gadgets into. And once you've loaded them in, you send them back. Gazelle evaluates them and sends you the check. If you decide not to accept their offer, they'll ship it back to you. And by the way, you can select the payment method you want: PayPal, check, or if you do an Amazon gift card, a 5% bonus to the value. Or you can, if you want to be a nice guy, you could donate to charity. In fact, one of the things I like about Gazelle, if you are a charity, let's say you want to raise some money for the team, or you're a school or an organization, you can also set up a Gazelle page and then tell your team members, hey, donate your old electronics to Gazelle and the money goes to us. I think this is a great idea. They also have, if they say, well, we can't buy this, it's not worth anything, but we will recycle it for you, they use strict environmental policies with all of their recyclers, including no export policy. They don't send the stuff to China where children are taking it apart, as many recyclers do. No landfill policy, so this stuff is reused. They don't use prison labor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Cloud Blue is their primary recycling partner today. What a great group they are. Gazelle. For the last 4 years, people have been recycling their gadgets and getting money for many of them, or giving the money to charity. And I want you to give it a try. We have a special page for you. If you go to gazelle.com/MacBreak, GAZELLE, like the, what is it, a ruminant, like the cloven-hoofed gazelle.
Ungulate.
I've got like a whole box. I got a whole box of stuff that I'm starting to put in there. I'm getting
Isn't
ready
it great?
Getting ready to just send me a box.
Even if they didn't give you money for it, it'd be great just to get it out of your hair. But imagine,
you don't want
to.
What I'm worried about, a lot of times I build all this stuff up because I just don't know how to dispose of it properly, or I don't want to deal with it. I just want someone else figure that out. Even if all they did was pay for the shipping.
Now here's the special deal that MacBreak listeners get. Use the bonus code MacBreak at checkout. Go to gazelle.com/MacBreak. Use the bonus code MacBreak. They'll add 10% to the value of your item. That's $35 on that 3GS. That's not insignificant. I think this is a great way to feel good. If you're a charity, a great way to raise money. And I think this is just fantastic. Gazelle.com. Yeah, we've sent out 3 or 4 boxes now to Gazelle. We wanted to test it before we did the ads, and every time they gave us exactly the amount.
Right.
The response was very quick. I just think it's a great company and doing a good work. GAZELLE, gazelle.com/MacBreak. Give them a try. All right, Andy, have you done the work?
Yes, I did. And if you favicon National Geographic, you do not get that logo. What you get is
Andy, go to Apple.
Picture.
Go to what I just sent you. Go to the ping. Go to apple-touch.icon.ping.
Apple dot what? Say that again.
So no, go to the standard ping for iPhone apps. So go to nationalgeographic.com/apple-touch-icon.ping. I'll send it to you.
Well, all I can say is that when you bookmark it and put it on your home screen, you don't get that.
That's the image.
You get a thumbnail of the web page that you were actually looking at. That's all I can say.
That's what I got. That's what I got on the iPhone. But anyway, that's the standard look. That is the fave icon of iPhones, just for what it's worth.
Huh.
I mean, it's a standard. That naming is a standard scheme for.
Wait a minute. Here's somebody in our chat room who did it, and this is the icon they got. So I don't know exactly what the difference is.
That's weird. Hang on, let me do that again. I just typed National Geographic.
I got the same thing that Andy got, but
I did too. All I got was a page.
Huh.
Wait a minute. Are we all talking on the internet right now?
Maybe you know what? I bet that guy has an iPad.
Aha!
He's trying to put one over
It's
on
the
us.
magic iPad result.
Okay, first of all, can you tell us now how responsive is the on-screen keyboard? Because I only had about 10 minutes with it, and I'm not sure how fast you can type on it.
Here's the key. It has to be the full National Geographic website, not the mobile website.
Oh, that's handy.
And then it says when you go to save bookmark, you have to give it a minute to load ping.
We're going to send in a little tutorial on Apache to National Geographic. You know, Andy, when you talked about that, you know what immediately came to my mind? Your hometown paper, Boston Globe. They should put the big picture on the iPad. Wouldn't that be awesome? Do
I
you
love
look at
the big picture. Yeah. I love the big picture.
It's just like great high-resolution photos. Yeah,
that's right. They've sort of set off a whole genre now, but I think they still do it better than most places. But that's one to add to your reader if you're not doing it already. Several giant, gorgeous photos.
Isn't that a smart thing? It's boston.com/big picture. Isn't that a smart way? This is a newspaper that gets the fact that they need to start driving people to the web. And I think so many newspapers, and Rupert Murdoch especially, are afraid of driving people to the web. So, clearly the big picture makes no sense except if you're online.
I think the hard part is no one figured out how they were going to make it make sense business-wise. How are they going to rationalize it?
But they didn't worry about that. They said, look, we know it's going to be the web. Let's get our users going to the web, and we'll figure it out after that, you know?
But I think it'll be interesting to see how they adopt
pictures,
like what they do when they're making this content available on the iPad. Are they going to try to make sure that there is some kind of pay-per-view before that, like keep the web free, keep people coming in there, but putting different content, like how much free content is going to be on the iPad? That's going to be something interesting, because I think a lot of them are looking at a way to reset that agreement with their users, and users get pretty tweaky about it. CNN charges $1.99 for their iPhone app, and then they hit you with a bunch of ads. And if you look at the reviews going down, people are like,
it bothers me that there's ads in there. I think that's really uncool.
I mean, if I pay for it,
Hey, Leo, try this. Leo or Dane or whoever's running that. This is another one of my favorite things that people are starting to do. Are you on a page like the Shanghai Preparers page?
Yeah.
So hit your J and K keys.
Okay, let's do it.
Hit JJJ.
You mean any page?
No, when you're on the bot. Yeah, so hit J right now.
J. It goes to the top and scrolls down.
Yep. It uses
nice?
it uses Unix key commands to basically fly through a page.
That's awesome.
More and more pages, more and more places.
This is Firefox, but is this the? But this is the website that's doing it.
This is shoot. I haven't done HTML in years.
You know who does it? Gmail does it. So I know it's
a key. I think it's called key index is the HTML, but it's so handy when you start using this. There's all kinds of sites that are starting to add this now. And then to Alex's point, I'm not going to rant about this because I've ranted a lot in the last week about this, but it depends on what you think the web is there for. There are people who see the web as not much more than a source of bleeding for their dying business model, and it's my words. But then there are other people who see that the unlimited possibilities of, if your heart is a little more open to where this stuff is going, if the Boston Globe had seen this as nothing but bleeding, they would not be getting thousands and thousands of people who didn't know they existed until they did this. Right. It's it's mind-boggling.
I completely agree. I mean,
it's. The thing is, though, you got to. It's great to have millions and millions of people looking, or millions and millions of people giving you a penny each. When you hear about the New York Times going to a pay model, they're not really talking about not getting it or not really wanting to invest in the web. They're talking about the fact that they pay a lot of really great writers and a lot of really great editors doing a lot of really great journalists that cost a lot of money. And so that if they have to go to a model where they try to get $5 a month from people to pay for all that, that's something that they're going to have to do. I just don't. I think that what gets lost in the shuffle is the idea of saying that, well, it's too bad these newspapers don't get it. They get it. They just get that they don't don't want to go to a system where they're just hiring freelancers to give them content as it comes in.
All right, let me see. I'm on the full.
It
I'm on
could
the
be true, but the other side of that, I mean, my opinion is that I've just said this the other day, but I think you don't have revenue until you have traffic, and you don't have traffic until you have interest. And if you try to put the revenue in front of the traffic, you're going to be SOL. And the thing is, I realize that it's a challenging environment, but what you're describing would make sense if they were able to make money off something. But if you can't make money off anything, then you're going to have some courageousness about moving into an area that is just promising for now.
Well,
and you lose
first
first mover advantage if you don't do that.
Well, I mean, there are lots of different ways to innovate. If you're a car company that wants to continue to make cars, you have to innovate how you operate your business. You can't really tell Chrysler that, by the way, you're going to be making rice cookers from now on. Yeah, but we're a car company. Yeah, but you're not selling cars, so you're going to become a rice cooker company. Well, but we have this idea that instead of getting to sales, we get into leasing. Yeah, but really the industry is going into rice cookers,
Well, but I think that there's an opportunity to decide, where you're going to put the content. So, for instance, you keep the web free, you keep on doing that, but you have let's say a free app and a paid app. Free app's got a ton of ads. A paid app doesn't have as many or no ads, has extra content, has a couple extra pieces there to entice people to go ahead and pay. I don't think it has. I think there can be a gradient between the free version and successive areas where you can go ahead and people who are really serious about that information, who really want to see more of that, can see it, and people who want free might not get the same, quite the same amount of content.
By the way, the only accomplishment that the big picture at Boston.com has done for me now is make me want to go to Shanghai for the 20th.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
I just don't want to be under that during a windstorm, that's all.
The pointy thing. I know. Wow. I mean, just look at these pictures.
Hey, Dale, look up right now. Ah!
Yeah, no kidding. But wouldn't you? Oh, man. This is going to be
where
amazing.
this really pays off, though, also is, not to get into disaster porn, but whenever something, kind of horrible does happen, somewhere like Haiti or, the
then
earthquake
people know
in Asia,
where to go.
Some of these pictures tell a story that like 100 of those stupid lightweight cable shows will never be able to tell.
Yeah, I think you're right.
A really gifted photographer can tell you so much more about what's going on, than some guy in a slicker standing in the rain.
Look at that. The architecture there is going to be incredible. But you're right. I think this is speaking of National Geographic, this was the secret to National Geographic, was great pictures. And it does one of the things that will translate very well to the web and to the iPad.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather read a National Geographic that can come alive with video and audio as well as
here's the thing for me is that the only challenge I have is that first 10 minutes when you take off on a plane, but because that's when I read most of my magazines, but I go through, magazines are my primary way of getting information. And so whether it's Wired or The Economist and the thing is I got a big stack of them. I mean, what's great to me is this idea that I can get extra, I can have audio and video, but I can all have them in one place. I have one little iPad that is going to be sitting there holding, and I can see myself subscribing to a lot more magazines than I did before.
NPR's already said they're going to do an iPad app that's a different app from the iPhone app.
I can't... I'm so excited.
And you already love, you recommended the iPhone app. Wall Street Journal says they are going to launch on launch day with a Wall Street Journal iPad-specific flash-free page.
If the magazines really embrace this and also take into account that they're saving a lot of money by not having to cut down trees to send us stuff, and make it more affordable for us to get really cool content that's in there, I could see myself like. I buy iPhone apps all the time. I just think I'll try it, and it's $2 or whatever. If it's inexpensive, if I'm able to get a 1-year subscription for $10 or $12, and by the way, I'm getting a 1-year subscription of Wired for $10. I mean, so it's not that it's outside of the boundary, but if it's in that inexpensive rate, I could definitely see myself subscribing to more magazines than I'm ever going to be able to make it through.
I think what they really have to do is hook into one of the greatest benefits that newspapers and magazines have right now is that Amazon has spent the past couple of years training the marketplace to pay money for books, to sort of break them out of the idea of, yes, you're downloading a piece of written, printed content. Yes, you're reading it on a mobile device like your iPhone, but it's not the web. You didn't get it for free. As a matter of fact, you paid $17 for this, but that's because this is a professionally produced product that a lot of research went into it, a lot of editing went into it, and you're going to get a very, very long immersive immersive experience instead of just dipping in and out randomly. If they have now, they have the ability to simply say, we are not selling you a web page, we are selling you a really big detailed book of the New York Times today that has every article that was published in it, that has lots of content you're not going to get otherwise for it. Yes, it's not on the web, but we're giving you something better than the web. From our perspective, it's a version of the web where you pay us 75 cents for it.
You're totally right, and I think you've both of you in passing have nailed two things that make this stuff either hard or difficult for me, depending on how well it's done. Two things I think of. I think about when I think I got this as a premium from PBS or something, but I ended up getting the entire history of the New Yorker on was CDs or DVDs, and it was the most unbelievably giant pain in the ass to use.
Yes,
it was. I mean, it was really. I'm sorry to say, I love the New Yorker, and I was looking forward to sitting down and being able to select this Dorothy Parker thing, this Robert Benchley thing, all these things that I could take with me. And it was, I don't want to overstate it, but it was very, very difficult to use, and you were stuck with their little reader. So number one, the accessibility and usability part. Number two, my gosh, I subscribed as the day I got my Kindle, my first generation Kindle. I think I subscribed to 3 or 4 magazines, and I canceled them all the next day.
Me too.
It was so not fun to read. So A, the usability, and very related, B, the design. There are some websites that are so fun to use on the iPhone and others that are just so bad. I think this sounds so obvious, but if you start designing your content for this device, or to at least be friendly on this device, it can be totally immersive. For me, like I say, Wikipanion, using an app like Wikipanion, it's so much more fun to use that app because it's made for the iPhone than to just dither around on the mobile site. And I think if they want to succeed, I'll speak for myself. If they want to succeed with people like me, and I do pay a lot for content of all kinds, it really, I'd like to see the care that you decided to make a parallel product for this device rather than just trying to poop out something from your back catalog that you threw a bunch of DRM at.
I think
that's not a product. That's an embarrassment.
Well, and I think this is really a big challenge for Adobe too, because I think they are going to spend a lot of time putting the extra care into the iPad version, and then the iPad version is going to get way ahead of everything else, and then they're not going to be sure that it's worth the engineering resources to do that again in Flash. And I think that's the concern that Adobe has. I think it's the concern that a lot of the pad manufacturers have. They have to put these out now, because if the Dell and the HP and everything else don't put them out now, and there isn't a development platform for them, and Apple has 90% of the market, you get into that. Why should we, if we're already making all this money and it all works, why should we go into something else? And I think that's going to be one of the challenges. But I think that I would, by the way, with the National Geographic, the more I think about it, what I want to buy is the entire history of National Geographic in an iPhone, in an iPad app. I'd pay $200 for that.
Well, that's the thing. If you could, that's maybe a good argument for getting those bigger memory ones, because if you could get it, to me, part of the problem with the New Yorker or the National Geographic is swapping those stupid DVDs. If I could have it all in one place,
like 6 of them,
and be able to search across it, you could easily get that onto a 64 gigabyte.
It reminded me of when I used to use Aldous PageMaker on a Plus.
Swap,
and I'd have to shuk.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's where we're looking at the iPad really being a transformation.
Oh man, just think of what got me into Africa in the first place was when I was 10 years old. I inherited some 1927, 1928 National Geographic from my great grandmother, and it was when they were just discovering it. And there's so much. National Geographic has been such a tome of information, for so long that I'd love to just have that. I don't know if I'd read anything else if I had the whole.
You know what I really love, if they would, especially these magazines that have like a 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 year history, if they just had a policy where they're putting it all in a purchasable library, and every issue is always at their original cover price. So if you want to buy like a 1908 copy,
that's $5. That's a great idea.
If you want to buy last month's, it's $7.
A nickel for 1908.
That'd be awesome.
Hey, we have to move along, and there's quite a few other stories. Let me do a quick rundown, and you can give us your quick reaction to them. Fake Steve Jobs working on a TV show. It'll be called Icon. Dan Lyons. The show will be directed by comic genius Larry Charles, who did Seinfeld, of course. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Borat. He's overseeing the script. The lead character is called Tom Rhodes. I'm not sure how that relates to Steve Jobs.
He's supposed to be designed around him. Maybe he runs a.
You couldn't really call
company.
him anything. You couldn't. You'd have to be very disguised to get away with that.
Right.
Any reactions to that?
I wish I was the fake Steve Jobs. No, God, all the work he's getting off of this.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Actually, though, it's a web only release. So I think this is going to be like another Dr. Horrible. It sounds like, where it's
smart.
not. It'd be another thing if it were like an NBC show or an HBO show. It seems like another really cool idea where someone who's an established producer, an established creator, is using some of his own money to, using a lesser amount of money to say, well, let's do something small that might work better. And this is the sort of idea that wouldn't really work as a 22 episode a season series. But if you want to do 6 web episodes that are really, really well chosen, that could be cool. That could be kind of cool.
Apple has announced there is an iPad battery replacement service, just like for the iPhone and the iPod. $99 plus $6.95 shipping.
It's not just like it though. They aren't they saying that they're going to replace the whole iPad?
Yeah, that's kind of the weird thing. I'm not sure if they have to. I guess they do. I don't know.
Well, it might be so packaged in there that there's just no other way to do it. But it seems like they would be either the iPad costs a lot less than we were calculating to make, and they're making a lot of money on it, or they're losing every time you replace a battery.
Well, no, or you're not going to walk out with a brand new iPad. They're going to have every Apple store will have will mail off the 12 iPads they got this month. They'll get sent back more refurbished ones with new batteries installed. They'll just do that from the swap out.
And the reason they're saying they're swapping is so your data will not come back.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the other thing that you could theoretically do is you could sell those refurbs for $100 or $150 or $200 or whatever down the road and make. I think people would be a little peeved if they were trading their iPad in and getting a refurbished one back. But I think that they got a new one back, and then Apple has a refurbished program that offsets the cost, and you have a bunch of people buying them for $200 or whatever. That would probably work fine.
I do think you'll be getting back from a pool of other iPads that have had their batteries swapped out. I also see this more as a PR thing than anything else. I think that they're going through the list of all the complaints that people might have about the iPad, and they can say, "Come on, okay, fine. If in 2 years' time you get 20% fewer battery life on your iPad, come on in, give us $100 bucks. We'll swap out your entire iPad for you with a brand new battery." Okay.
Yeah. No, it's being proactive.
It's great.
Yeah. Nipping it in the bud. Yep. And I don't know if you saw the New York Times article about the feud breaking out into a red-hot war, which we've been talking about for some time, between Eric Schmidt at Google and Apple. And lots, though, of research and behind-the-scenes, deep background interviews with venture capitalists, people at Apple. And it sounds like it's been rancorous for some time. Really, really ugly.
I have to admit that if I had worked with Google really closely and then they went off and made a phone that did a lot of the stuff that I had been working on with them, I'd be pissed.
And Google's defending themselves, saying, "No, we were all of this stuff. We thought of this before the iPhone came out."
Yeah, I'd be really pissed.
Well, yeah, you got the guy sitting on your board who's getting all that secret information.
I'd be pissed.
Leaves the board.
Yeah. Also, remember that? Do you remember what their first prototypes of the first time that Google was releasing images of what their Android operating system looked like? It looked like a BlackBerry. It looked like a Trio. It did not look like an iPhone.
But everybody who's released a phone, a smartphone in the last 2 years has made it look like the iPhone. You don't have to be on the board of directors.
But if you're sitting on the board of directors, there's a certain level of, okay, you're going to play in your field and we're going to play in our field, and we're not going to.
Well, that's kind of what Steve Jobs was saying, wasn't he, at that all hands meeting? He said, we didn't go after Google for search. They went after us for the iPhone.
Right.
I think there's pretty much clear. That
you know what, though? I bet that's a little bit of a cipher. Yeah, sure, there's obviously going to be a lot of headbutting on that, but I bet that's something more like what? If I knew more about history, I'd say something Neville Chamberlain. There's probably something where no, but I mean, this is just the beginning of a much bigger fight. I bet where you know what this is? Okay, how about the sinking of the Maine? Does that work? Kind of World War I.
I don't remember the Maine.
Spanish American War. Oh, yeah. You don't remember the Maine? Do you remember the Alamo at all?
You're supposed to remember the Maine.
I know.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember the
mother desperately being swept out to sea, clutching her dead infant. That didn't move you in any way. That was a documentary campaign poster, not propaganda, sir.
One picture.
I bet that this is the leading edge of something that's going to be much more profound and serious. This might be a little bit of a pissing match about a friendship that's gone sour and some copying. I don't think Apple has that much to worry about for now in terms of the iPhone being copied. I mean, it's, they're tracing shadows. If you can't come up with that interaction with the way the software works with the hardware.
I think Apple's going to use those patents to keep everyone behind. I mean, I think that's what they're going to. That's what they're going to do. Is that it doesn't matter whether they win or lose. It's just a matter of how long they can keep the question mark open. I know if I'm a user, I don't know if I really want to buy into it because I don't know whether it's going to be there or not.
Yeah. But the level of trash talk has escalated by a level of 5 or 10.
Really?
Like, I think everybody read like the comments from Tim Bray just got hired by Google to work on Android.
Yeah.
And it's the most like college freshman posting to their live journal because they just found out that white people control everything, and isn't that horrible? It's like what was it? The iPhone version, the iPhone version of the mobile internet's future omits controversy, sex, and freedom.
I thought it was a very well written post.
We can know and who can say what.
Oh, I thought it was a well-written post from the guy who invented CSS. You know, I mean, it's Now, a Google employee went to Apple, and I didn't see this but he tweeted, "It's been great working for Google. You know, had a great time. Next step, Apple." And then the Twitter was taken down. So I guess it goes both ways, and
well, it depends what kind of company you want to work for. I don't know that. I mean, I know a lot of people that work at both, but just on the face of it, those are two companies that are their next 5 years are going to have a lot of overlap from a consumer standpoint. But the problems that those companies face are going to be fairly different, I think. I mean, there's some things.
I mean, Apple did try to get into Google's business. They tried to buy AdMob for $600 million.
Well, this was after all that started, though. I mean, that was the thing. And Apple, by the way, it sounds like they just fumbled that. I mean, they just literally had them on a hold for 45 days and just let it run out for whatever reason. And
they had offered $600 million. Google swept in and said, "We'll give you $750."
Well, that might be just trying to take a bishop off the table. I mean, sometimes those sorts of things are just so somebody else can't have. I don't know the details of that. I just mean in the sense of like the directions that they're going. There's enough money involved in the areas where they do clash that we're going to compare them on those terms. But, you think about what each company is actually selling and what they're each actually making money off of. They're pretty different kinds of things. Google's not a tech company. They're an ad company.
Mm-hmm. I think that I personally think it was a tactical error on Google's part, because I think that the issue is that I think that they would have done better to find a way to work with Apple to get what they wanted out of the relationship. And maybe it would have been difficult, maybe it would have been painful, but now they have to bet against Apple, because what they're guaranteed is that they'll never get in there. And then the thing is, Apple's going to work them out, and Apple, the thing is that, I mean, I think historically, I think what we found is that, Steve holds a grudge fairly well. And
that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, and so the thing is that
forever.
I think that the issue that they've done is they picked a fight with a viper, and the thing, and I don't know, I just know that if I was running a company, I wouldn't pick a fight with someone like that. I'd find a way, no matter how difficult it was, to find a way to work my way into that system and make sure I was part of that system, not, pick one,
right?
Pick a fight. And I think that this is it could really cost them a lot down the road if Apple keeps on growing the way it's growing and start shutting them out of everything. It's going to be a real problem for their search engine.
All right, we're going to go to our picks of the week in just a little bit. But before we do that, it's time to mention our friends at Audible.com. Our pick of the week at Audible.com. We do this every week. Audible is a great place to get your audio books. 70,000 books, radio shows, comedy performances. Many of the hosts here at Twit are Audible fans. I know I am. Andy is. We listen to our books because and I know Alex is too, because there are plenty of times when we want to read, but we just can't get reading done.
I never want to read. I want the information.
I want, not anymore. I was talking to a listener of ours, Francine Hardaway. She said, I had stopped reading. And then I got an Audible subscription because I heard about it on the show. And now I read all the time. We call it reading, but it's really listening. Because how much time do you spend in the car every day or at the gym? If I add that up, that's probably an hour or two of reading every single day. And it's just great, too, because I listen to these books and I just love them. Now, we thought because it's Jerry Lewis's birthday, we could recommend this book, which you have recommended before, both Andy and Merlin. Unfortunately, it's only abridged, although,
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the listing.
It's only 3 hours.
It's only 3 hours, but seems like a very, very short version of this book. Also, it's narrated by Marty Ingalls.
See, I thought that was a selling point.
I don't know.
He's got a gruff voice. Here, listen.
I'll admit that I was wrong about Paul Schaefer. When Paul Schaefer was narrating his own memoir a few months ago, I was like, oh, do I really want to listen to this voice in my ear for 6 hours and 45 minutes? I don't think so. But you get into it.
It works
I'm not
pretty
sure.
well. Yeah. Well, here's Marty Ingalls.
Hazen wrote Cherry an absurdly long memo.
Also, the clip, by the way, is in very low quality. They have much higher quality on these books, including the new enhanced format, which is perfect quality. I don't know. I listened to this, and you know what I did? I went out and I bought the book. And I think sometimes I do that with Audible, that I fall in love with the book, from listening, and then I go out and get the full version. And I did do that.
What do you do with the full version? Do you put it on your shelf so that
What's right now? It's sitting in front of you.
you got this after you got the Audible book?
Yeah,
Why would you do that?
because I listened to the abridged, and I wanted the full version.
Abridged.
I mean, so just tell me, did the Audible version have the story about Jerry Lewis bugging his son's bedroom secretly?
Yes.
So that after he spanked his kids, he would run to his private office, lock the door, and listen to what his kids were saying about him.
The most bizarre story in the whole
His
book.
locked bathroom that had the
that's my
loaded
favorite story
gun
because
and
it
the
comes
drugs
more
in it.
bizarre than that. Because as soon as you're like, wow, this Jerry Lewis guy, he's got issues, then you find out that no, we know about this because he talked about this on like the Dick Cavett show as an example of like how good a parent he is. and what I knew I'd done the right thing, Dick, because the last thing my boy said was that he was glad that I had done it because it would make him stronger. And that's the sort of
Oh, you just, you can't, it's one of those things you just can't turn away from. And I think it's a great book. I would, look, you don't have to get this. The good news is you've got 70,000 books to choose from, and most of them could be yours for free. You get a credit. What we're talking about is joining the Audible's a gold subscription plan. They have a gold and platinum subscription plan. The gold plan is one book a month. And the first one's free. If you go to audible.com/MacBreak, you can cancel at any time and keep that book. So maybe you don't want to use your credit on a 3-hour abridged book, but there are plenty of other wonderful books to choose from. And that's one of the things I love about listening to audiobooks from Audible. What are you listening to, Andy?
Right now, actually, before I get to that, I just now noticed that the pick of the week for last week, The Big Burn, Teddy Roosevelt and the Fire That Saved America, is on sale. Normally $14.69 as a member. Now it's $4.95.
They do that a lot too. 200 books are now $4.95.
And I'm deep into it right now, and I'm like, oh, I might have to buy this. This might have to be one of those books that I actually buy like digitally afterward because I want to reread it. It was a really good book. Right. I just want to mention that in passing to people who don't want to spend
they call that their win-win sale. I'm not sure what that means, but I guess.
Well, reader gets a good book, the author gets a royalty. That's a win-win for me.
The win-win.
This one is. I rarely recommend fiction only because I rarely read fiction. I'm mostly into nonfiction. So this is a book that I saw on the shelf. I knew it was coming out. I read the first chapter in the bookstore and decided that, I'm going to look into this. It is Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. It is written by the same guy who wrote Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. And so
which is about to become a major motion picture near you, I'm sure.
Exactly. Well, this is the movie that I want to see because it purports to be the secret journal of Abraham Lincoln. Because it turns out that there was a vampire menace in the United States that was referred to as the milk sickness. And his mother died of the milk sickness, and he decided to commit his life, much like Batman, to killing and destroying vampires for the rest of his life. So he was indeed all of our history is still true, but it's been sort of like the unspoken parts of Abraham Lincoln's life and presidency have now been fleshed out considerably by his desire to whack vampires in the skull with axes. It's embroidered with historical photos and other documentation to basically make sure you understand exactly what the vampire menace was like during the Civil War and the years beforehand. I read the first chapter and I was like, okay, sold American.
That's great.
It's great when you see an author is able to bring history to life like this, and this is how you're going to get the kids interested in history. Now they're going to fail miserably when they write about this and they're for their term papers in history class, but at least they'll be able to spell Lincoln correctly, I think, after this.
I love it. Audible. It is owned by Amazon, but it's audible.com/MacBreak, and you can get Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, or you could get The King of Comedy, or one of 70,000 other titles. But you get that first book free, and we invite you to give it a try. We know you're going to love Audible. Audible.com/MacBreak. And it is time for our picks of the week, and I'm going to start because when I was at South by Southwest, I met Throwboy.
Isn't that cute?
Throwboy is just a guy who started making pillows. He said, I think it was for his girlfriend. And he started with the Macintosh icon. And now if you go to throwboy.com, you can get a Macintosh pillow. You can get an iChat pillow. You can get the little speedometer pillow there. That's dashboard, right?
You can make a whole dock with pillows.
You could get a whole dock. Dave,
That wouldn't be geeky at all.
I talked to him and I said he made this one-off for me, the twit pillow at throwboy.com. But I licensed it. I said, dude, make as many as you want. So at some point they're going to have these as well. He makes them by, well, I guess he's got some seamstresses now, but he made them by hand himself.
That's awesome.
Really nice guy. And I just think this is, if you're a Mac fanatic, having a Macintosh pillow, an iChat pillow, and a photo booth pillow on your couch just would be so cool, wouldn't it? He's also got Chris Pirillo pillows.
Yep.
That's a little scary. Chat pillows, OMG, WTF, LOL, FTW. He's got an RSS pillow, and soon to be added, a twit pillow as well. It's throwboy.com, and they're not very expensive, and they're real. And you know what? They're pretty nice. Here, take a gander there.
Oh, wait,
Isn't that nice? Perfect for the airplane. Isn't that great? Oh,
I'm feeling twittery already.
Yeah, while you're listening to Twit, you can lie on the Twit pillow.
Also known as the Andy started talking about something that interests him pillow.
No, Andy, we love you.
Well, what people don't understand about the TRS-80 Model 100 is that it was innovative for its time because...
I love that you enjoy your computers.
Yeah, I think it's part of your charm.
No, I mean, this is why people listen. It's because you and I talk too much. I think that's really
all right. Again, I
can say, Andy, I said this to somebody just the other day. One of my favorite things on this show, apart from my love and the giving and the thing of you guys, is I love your.
And I don't think enough people notice and know about the love and the give, the where you wear yourself out for these kids, Merlin.
This today is an environment in which somebody who is a genius and has given and who writes and directs and invents technology is not getting the due vis-a-vis people in the world who are consuming that, and then seeing with these children what I do for them every year.
It's very scary that you guys are so good at this, and I wonder
Merlin,
how many...
I celebrate you and I greet you.
How many telethons you guys actually watched? You must have memorized this stuff.
See, I'm the kind of guy that I see the telethon and I go, okay, I got to go somewhere else.
People don't understand how wonderful like the Jerry Lewis telethon, because it was like the last big TV show you got to watch before you went back to school for the year. Okay, and the first three, your mom and your dad wanted to watch it too, so it was the entire family around the TV set, and it was like the first 2.5 hours were, it started off with something incredibly grotesquely in bad taste, which was all Jerry Lewis's idea, like a little pantomime clown skit about how horrible this disease was. And then 2.5 hours of, you got your Frank Sinatra, you got your Sammy Davis Jr., you got your,
I feel
after the shows, the thing is, that's the thing, is you'd have all this crap and you'd have all these people with twirling batons and stuff, and then after the midnight show, they'd come out and they'd be lit. And you get Sammy, and you get back in the day before they reconciled in '76, of course, via Frank Sinatra. They Dino would come out, and Joey Bishop, and it was amazing. And if you could stay up that late, man, it was magic. Good times. Boy, I'll tell you, that'll break your heart. And you know what? The thing about Jerry is that when he and Dean got together on that stage in 1976, he sent, was it monogrammed lighters to Frank and Dean, and they never mended that friendship, and that breaks Jerry's heart.
Broke his heart.
This day.
Monogrammed
lighters.
Also,
he never wears the same pair of socks twice.
Yeah, and he was very, very generous, man. I mean, he would give you a Rolex at the drop of a hat.
Yep.
Just, you don't even have to ask. He just, here, take my watch. He loved his watches.
Jerry, not that we're in that for monogram Rolexes, because for us, it's all about the Jerry love and the respect. And the honor.
See, now if I do a Jerry Lewis imitation, it's really an imitation of Andy and Merlin doing their Jerry Lewis imitation.
I do that with Randy Newman. I basically imitate that guy from Mad TV. My Randy Newman sounds like him. So, I mean, I think that's reasonable. You can do a meta impersonation.
That's how I learned really how to do all my impersonations, was impersonating impersonators.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Because they went through all the trouble of figuring out what the important pieces of that were.
and you just steal it from them.
I mean, like,
Absolutely.
But it's a little derivative, because I sound, when I do, Jimmy Cagney, I'm really doing Frank Gorshin doing Jimmy Cagney.
Oh, he does a good one. The Riddler. He does a good one.
The Riddler, baby.
Well, actually, no, that's Edward G. Robinson. Oh, but I'm doing Chief Wiggum.
You're doing Chief Wiggum, exactly.
I'm doing Hank Azaria. Is that what that is?
Hank Azaria.
But you're doing Dick Cheney.
Where's God now?
Red Stapler says in our chat room, I can imitate Jerry by giving Red Stapler a Rolex. That's a thought.
That's nice.
Your pick, Alex Lindsay.
So my pick is the opposite of the Audible pick.
Okay.
So it is of Audible. So a lot of
it's an audiobook that's written?
No, it's actually writing by talking.
Writing by talking.
So here's the deal. Is the guys from Nuance were here in the office Remember they were visiting, and
yes, they
and,
do. They're brilliant. They're
they
the
have
ones
Dragon.
who do Dragon Naturally Speaking. They own them all.
And so they sent me a copy of Dragon, which I fell in love with.
Very good.
I felt, and here's the
But that's a Windows program,
right?
Mac Speech is the Mac version,
right? So
yeah.
I in the backstory is I haven't been able to type for more than about 15 or 20 minutes at a time since the mid '90s.
Your wrists hurt?
Oh no, I burned up my arms at ILM when I was working on Star Wars, and took a couple weeks off and did lots of acupuncture and took lots of drugs and got it all kind of to a point where I could work. So I can do a little bit here and there.
It's funny because I took lots of drugs and now I can't work.
So anyway, so I'm able to I can type for a good 10 or 15 minutes, but it's really hard. Long articles are real painful, which is why I don't write much, and why I do podcasts, and so, or part of the reason. And so anyway, this has been a real issue. And now that I'm writing more and more, I'm doing less production, it's becoming more of an issue. And so I really dug into the Dragon software that they sent, and it took me a little while to think about how to talk that way. Say comma, space, or not space, but comma, and the next thing, period, new paragraph, all that stuff. Fell in love with it, and then, of course, now Mac Speech was bought by Nuance, and I was already talking to some of the guys over there, and so they sent me Dictate, which I started testing. So Mac Speech Dictate works on your Mac, and it's awesome.
It's the same engine.
It's the same
magic.
engine as Dragon.
It's like magic.
It doesn't have...
Really? Is it that good? Because every time I've tried these things...
compared to any other speech recognition you've ever done on a Mac, it's magic.
Oh, yeah.
You
We've
still
never
have
had...
to... Yeah, I do it where I'll export from a digital recorder, and it gets an astounding amount of it.
Yeah.
See, my point is, I guess if it's 95% accurate, that's fine, but that means 1 in 20 words you have to fix. So there's a lot of stuff.
I'm really dyslexic. I'm less accurate than Mac Speech when I'm typing. So
okay,
it doesn't
there you
really
go.
matter to me.
There you go.
So it's amazing I get anything done. So anyway, it runs over top of your apps. You turn it on. You have a little stop sign. You hit the stop sign and you hit go, and you start writing stuff. And I have fairly good diction when I'm doing it, and I have a good mic. I have a Plantronics 655 that I'm using with it, and I have a fairly quiet room. Those are all things that contribute to you do have to know how the computer wants to listen to you, and you do have to enunciate. But when you do that, I'm really surprised at how good it is, and even if I have to go back and correct, the amount of information that I can get down is at least 4 or 5 times what I was typing before, without running out of steam. So it's really, really cool. Mac Speech Dictate, and they have a bunch of other things.
How much is it though?
I think it's like $149.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not very expensive. Yeah. And
I mean, for a speech dictation, that can be very expensive. So
well, and they have specialty versions, and so if you're a doctor or a lawyer, like my father has been dictating to a assistant for 30 years, so I'm sure that he would just sit down and just jam right through this. I mean, because he knows that he's very comfortable. The biggest thing for me was getting used to saying, period, space, and then also I realized how much I think while I'm typing. So there's a different. It's like my brain is in my fingers to some degree, and so trying to re-gear how I'm coming up with the sentences, comes out differently than if I had typed. But I am not going back to, just like I'm not going back to books. When I really got into Audible, I'm not going back to typing anything of mass with my fingers. I'm done. I'm done. I'm past
And let's see. You know what it does, Alex? One way I started thinking about it, I bought it because I've said this before that I think typing versus writing versus talking, they're all different kind of modes that kind of stimulate different parts of your creativity.
Right.
I use it to basically capture a first draft. It's as good as my free writing is in terms of spelling, punctuation. It's close enough. And you know what you could do? A suggestion. I mean, this is a little more money, but you could just talk as fast as you want and basically send. I'm thinking you could take your 95% right version and throw it on Mechanical Turk and have somebody correct it for
Usually
you.
what happens
that's interesting.
Usually
it would be a lot cheaper than full transcription.
I actually have people at the company that correct most of what I do, whether I type it or not.
You have editors.
I have people who edit everything because my dyslexia is so bad that there's words spread out all over the place. So the thing is that it doesn't. People have to pass through anything that I'm writing anyway. So the key is what's been hard is me getting that first draft down.
Right.
And because it's internal training and it's internal business plans and stuff, that's been the thing that I've been afraid of. I don't want to send it out
instead of writing almost all the time.
Now I am. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And what I was doing with Dragon, so with Dragon, what I would do for all the text before we put it into Pages, it would sit in Google Docs. And so I would use Dragon on the PC side in Google Docs, and I would just write the entire. I started writing all the drafts that I was working on, and then I would let everybody else edit it in Google Docs, and then I would cut and paste it out of Google Docs into Pages, and then do all the formatting that I want to do because I don't like doing the other stuff in Google Docs. And so, but it was great for everyone to kind of collaboratively, because they're not just the people that are at the company doing it. They're not just editing it for. They're not just fixing things. They're actually saying, we got to change this and edit this and move this, and why don't we add this? And so it's not exactly they're fixing what I'm writing. They're actually improving the thought process. It's not a fix it type of thing.
Right.
So we could collaboratively work on it in Google Docs. I really wish that Pages was collaborative like Google Docs, but it's not. So we just cut and paste it out and then put it into Pages and then make it look pretty.
Could you do that with iWork, with that iWork service?
You can't edit with iWork, so everyone can look at it, but they can't edit it.
That's handy.
Well, I think it's a step in the right direction. I can't imagine, especially when you look at what they're doing with the iPad. I can't imagine we're not going to get something like that. But I think that's the first dip into that.
I don't know, man. They got a lot of catching up to do with Google Docs. Google Docs is getting new stuff all the time, and it's not Chrome. They're getting amazing new features all the time.
They've just opened an app store for the Google Docs, which is a good idea. It means you're going to get great third-party stuff too.
It's fantastic. We use Google Docs through our show planning, through a lot of other things. I do find that, like for instance, creating spreadsheets in Google Docs is painful. So I build them in numbers and then export them to Google Docs. And I find that making things look pretty in Google Docs is pretty painful.
Yep.
So I do that in numbers.
I have one shake and
Pages.
bake style sheet I drop in, and it looks great.
Oh, send that. We should post that or something.
You know what? I'll
Does
put
it
it
have
up
a
as a
chicken?
gist.
Put it
I'll
on
throw it up as a
Kung Fu
gist.
Grip or somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, I'll put it up as a gist right now.
That would be great.
As long as it's got a chicken. If it's a shake and bake template, I want chicken.
Merlin, man, your pick of the week, saw.
Yeah, the reason I've been typing here like a big jerk is I wanted to put up some images because I'm tired of trying to explain things on the iPhone without being able to show it. So once again, I'm sorry, I don't mean this as a pimp, but if you go to Kung Fu Grip, I just put up some shots of something called i.tv, which is an iPhone app. Long story short, my wife, who I love, wanted a TiVo so we could have an Oscar party and have a TiVo. Well, it's nice. We needed a TiVo anyway. We haven't had one for a while.
So you want to have an Oscar party after the Oscar?
No, we got it for the Oscars. So I got a modest little, TiVo. It's nothing too giant. But what's neat was I looked at we talked about this before we started recording. I had looked at the Netflix streaming service, for example, a while back. I had used it on, I think, not on my Apple TV. I used it on my Mac Mini as part of, I want to say, Boxy. And I canceled Netflix a long time ago. It was just too much of a hassle. And I think what I said on Twitter, I said something like, it's like every movie that makes me want to cancel my cable is what you get streaming. Not true anymore.
Oh, not true. Go.
Not true anymore. What you get now, two things that I love is, first of all, this is my third TiVo, but it's the first one where I could have network capabilities. DirecTVOs wouldn't do that. So now I've got the ability to program remotely and do things with Netflix. Well, iTV is an iPhone app that lets you do both from your iPhone. And so essentially, if you see those screen grabs, you'll get an idea what mine looks like. You can go in and search and basically look at TV shows, look at movies. And then when you see something you like, you click on it, and you'll see right there, that one. Look at that screen. If it's available on Netflix or it's available like on TV, you just hit record. And it sends it to your box or adds it to your watch instantly pile on Netflix.
So it's an interface to the TiVo.
It's an interface to TiVo and Netflix. Yeah, you put in your credentials, and basically you can do it all from here. You can change I think you can change your queue around. I have a couple apps I've been using, so I might be getting this
won't
wrong.
this be nice on the iPad?
But I love Judge Judy, and sometimes I forget to tape it. So I can dive right in. You can have favorites. And you'll see, I don't know if I uploaded this one. You can also pair it with your TiVo and use it as a remote. I don't think that photo made it.
It says remote. I see the remote, yeah.
Exactly. So basically you can, it's kind of fugly, but you can use this as a remote, which is pretty handy. So imagine this app. I mean, one of the reasons I want an iPad, to be honest, like a lot of, first world idiots, is to have it in the living room, have it be a device that we use kind of around the house. And, it's kind of big and unwieldy for a remote, but it'll be really handy to have this be so many different kinds of things. I could be in a different room and basically, pause or whatever.
Now you make me want to buy a TiVo.
Go
Do
to
you have to
Weeknees.
have a TiVo to make this worthwhile? Yeah, Weeknees is the place.
Weeknees is amazing.
Yeah,
And
I'm a big fan of theirs. They actually helped me write my TiVo book.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Weeknees is great because if you call them, they will walk you through whatever you need to know. Basically, it's a company that just sells direct TiVos, TiVo DVRs, and everything related to them.
But how do you have cable? How do you interface it?
Don't get me started, Leo.
You don't use that. You don't have to.
Without getting into too much, I spent the last 2 years of my life getting really good at not needing a TiVo. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
But my lady wanted that. So yeah, we got cable. We got pretty basic cable. And unfortunately, a direct TiVo will not work with cable unless you do some really heroic measures. So basically, you just pop this into the back, HDMI out, and you're good to go. Up to 1080p. The one I got's pretty modest. You don't care. Why am I telling you this?
No, I do care. I asked you. I want to get a TiVo, but but I'm trying to figure out how I hook it up.
It arrives and it took me the amount of time.
Do you use what is it, IR Blaster? Or you just hook it up to your cable box?
Oh, no, yeah. So you do coax in, and then you pop in an Ethernet cable, and it goes right into my Mac Mini, and I can pull shows off onto the Mac Mini. I can program locally.
Which one did you get?
I don't like
I want to get exactly what you got, Merlin.
Okay, I got the one that's it's like, I don't know, however many hours, HD. You can get that new Premiere one. I wouldn't get that. I would go with
Did you get the XL?
I would go with the ones that were just discontinued, which are... Because you're Leo. No, the one I liked is...
Don't worry, because as soon as I buy it, it will be discontinued. So it doesn't. I don't have to get anything that's just discontinued.
So the one your mileage may vary. I did not get the one with the THX option because I just have a crappy stereo. I'm sorry, 1080i. I apologize. I think I got that wrong. So I got a Series 3 TiVo HD. And then you just order by how much drive space you need.
TiVo HD.
You can get one for $250.
Wow.
There's and check it out. Also, it's got a USB out that works.
Are you using cable card on it?
I'm going to need that to upgrade to some HD stations.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm a little concerned about, is this interface to the cable box.
It's a Comcast, and go get it, with all respect. And you go and get a card, and you're good to go.
They'll give you a cable card if you ask.
Setup is a breeze. It's TiVo.
If you beg, please.
And you don't have to use that Comcast DVR. My God, that thing is like needles in your eyes.
It is. It's horrible. That's what I've been using. It's horrible. It's
painful.
But to be honest, the menu. Oh, and Leo,
what?
I didn't tell you.
Yes.
I was looking like a nerd. I went through every conceivable menu. There's a video version of this show. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Because we make it.
Okay.
That just got out, and it's on TiVo.
You can watch this on your TiVo. You can watch this show on your TiVo. It's right there. Tons of podcasts. Tech TV is actually, Twit is featured on there.
Yes, we are. And we are putting all of our shows eventually with video, but this is one of the first. Yep.
You can go listen to audio podcasts. You throw a URL at it, and you can listen to that You Look Nice Today podcast. It's all...
If you guys would just let me do video of you making the show, you could be on TiVo too.
Just get a loop of Scott and me drinking, and then Adam editing.
I wish to God that you would please just let me just be the behind the scenes version of You Look Nice Today.
Just come up here.
We should have you on.
It would be great. No. I just we'll put cameras on you guys. It won't be the edited version, but it'll be on TiVo.
Well, I'm just sitting there pantsless eating Chinese food and drinking wine while I talk about poop. I don't know if that's a compelling...
It'll be a huge hit. Huge.
Okay.
It's the funniest podcast on the internet today.
Like Judy Garland narrating her autobiography.
Exactly.
Another thing.
They
treat me like a horse at MGM. Like a rented mule, they worked me night after night.
So we might have confused you, but Merlin's pick was this. It's an iPhone app called i.tv. It's free.
It's free, and a lot of people peed and moaned about previous versions being better. I have not had the problems that all the one-star losers are reporting. It's working fine for me. So the previous version was better.
I love this one from Chris. I hate it. You have to buy anything you want to watch.
I guess I should have read the description. That's my favorite kind of one-star review.
Free man.
Yeah.
I thought this would make iced tea. I guess I should have read the description. 1 star.
There are a number of people who are at South by Southwest who are doing alternates to the rating system on iTunes because it's so crappy. You cannot judge an app by the ratings, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I said this all along. I've said that no matter where you go. First of all, I love that Amazon shows you what other people have voted as good reviews.
Yes.
But if you want to learn if you only have a second or only want to take a second, go read the most highly rated 2-star review. And that is where you learn about a product. Because 2 or 3-star reviews are generally the most thoughtful reviews because it's not somebody who's grinding an axe generally. Right. And it's somebody who usually has not always, but a more nuanced reason than fail.
Yeah, right. So you just take the top and bottom off, basically. The ones and the 5s you eliminate.
I wish I could throw out those outliers. I wish you could build your own algorithm for sites like that. You know, where I could.
This is where closed does not work as well, unfortunately, as open.
Yeah.
We need an API to the Apple recommendation.
Oh, I can't wait. How long do we have to wait for that? Oh, wait.
Never.
Probably.
Never. Never. Oh. So let's see. I've done a pick. You've done a pick. You've done a pick. It must be Andy's turn.
Indeed it is. My pick is something I've been using for the past month and a half, I think, for this podcast and just about everything else I've been recording. Blue Microphones has come out with the new Blue Yeti microphone, which looks like some sort of it's cool because it looks like some sort of broadcasting award.
Merlin, I think you've made a mistake there. A Wookiee and a Yeti are two different
it was
things.
Me.
That wasn't me.
Oh, it was him.
It was me. I Wookieed.
He Wookieed instead of Yeti'd. What does a Yeti sound like?
Well, it sounds a lot like this, Leo, especially when you have too much presence for the microphone.
So I like. See, I don't have like the same sort of like microphone needs as like real recorders and real broadcasters. Traditionally, my mic has been this cool like M Audio USB mic. That's done very, very well for me. A lot of people say that it sounds really, really cool. But I like this. I like this Yeti mic because it has multiple features, multiple modes. Among them, I'm gonna show off the first one. Like I don't know how well I'm coming across right now. Probably not very well, I'm guessing.
No.
Not very well. Well, that's okay because this microphone has multiple modes. It has multiple capsules. So right now I have it in like regular like podcasting mode, but if I'm interviewing someone, I can put it into this mode right here, in which there are capsules. There's basically a two-way conversation, two-way direction. I can also, if I'm like just want to set this up in a room for a conference call or set this up in a room where lots of people are talking and performing, I can also put it in, click, put it in omnidirectional mode. So that no matter which way I face it, it's actually picking up audio. So like I'm normally using this in the same normal, basically front-facing podcasting on the desk out of the way of the camera mode like this, and it picks up really great audio. But it also means that on those times when I'm at like a relative's house, I'm trying to get them to tell like family stories, or whether I'm interviewing somebody and I want to make it a good enough recording that I can use it on a podcast, it has these extra modes to it. I also like the fact that it has controls directly on the microphone for things like gain, so I can pretty much make adjustments like this without to adjust how sensitive or how non-sensitive this thing is going to be without
That's
having
interesting.
to go.
Yeah, I mean, we can hear the differences as you twiddle.
Right, and so normally you'd have to go into like the app settings to adjust this, adjust that. Whereas I can just simply say, okay, just better like this, better like this, better like this, better like this. Stop. Okay, good. I'll stop. I'll stop right there. And it has the other cool things like put it back into, there you go. Just convenience features for idiot users like me, like it has.
He just pushed a button and now you can't hear him.
Button press, you won't be able to hear a thing at all. And it's actually lit, so you can actually see when this is flashing, you know that, okay, it is okay to cough or sneeze. And then the volume control for your headphones is right up here. And of course, it also has its own dedicated headphone jack, which is really, really cool thing to have if you're doing like lots of podcasts.
It's kind of a must. It's a must, really, because you don't have latency.
You hear your voice live instead of delayed by like 1/4 of a second, and that way you do not go insane. So it's actually been sort of encouraging me to do more audio recording like through this beautiful instrument that I keep near the desk, because it really does give you that. I think it's a nice balance between wanting to have the best quality audio you can possibly get without having to spend hundreds of dollars on equipment and stands and mixing boards and stuff like that. I'm really, really happy with it. It's not terribly expensive. It's about $150. I think for a lot of families, this is a really cool investment, because I honestly think that a decent microphone is almost more valuable than having a camcorder, because it's really, really hard to get family to really open up in front of a camera, because they know that their hair looks awful and they feel as though they're too heavy, or they feel like they're pasty, their hair's not done. But if you simply drop by announced with your notebook and saying, gee, I didn't really, I remember there's a story about grandma that I keep hearing bits and pieces of. I was wondering if you could tell it to me like full story so I could like share it with the grandkids. And then you show up with this, and it's a really nice high quality microphone, and that's a really good piece of documentation that you'll have like for years and years and years. And it's a story you would not get if someone had to see how messy the living room was.
It's a really good idea. I really like that. Yeah.
So it's actually, I have been sort of seeing it as a family purchase. The only thing I don't like about it is that it does have a microphone mount like a standard screw mount here in the bottom here. But man, even if you take this out of this very, very solid base it comes with, that's a big, heavy microphone.
It's big. It's really big.
So I think I'm gonna have to buy like a new microphone stand. I like this arm stand that I've been using so that I still have access to my desktop and I can push it out of the way. So for the past month and a half, every time I've had to record something, I've sort of had R2D2 again right here on my desktop. But again, I'm very, very happy with it. I think it's a really great mic. It's no muss, no fuss. I've had people real audio people recommend certain mics to me, and they tell me, well, you got to make sure that you surround it with this. You get this sort of baffle. Make sure you run it through this compressor. It's really you never believe this is only a $130 microphone, because if you add this $20 thing and this $80 thing and make sure you're acoustically blah blah blah. No, this is take it out of the box. Put it here. Plug something into here. Plug something in there. Start recording. You're good.
Thank you for the pick. The Yeti from Blue Mike.
Yeti.
Great price.
Blue Yeti. How much?
I think it's $149 or $129.
Well, that's really good.
Wow, that's so good.
That's list price. You can get it's not discounted very much, but that's list. That's the most.
So that's now going to be the recommendation set of the Rode Podcaster for the best $150 USB mic.
For $150, yeah.
Yeah, but that's pretty good.
I have to admit that when they came out with the Snowball, this was years ago.
Not good.
We actually talked about it on an early MacBreak, and then we learned to hate it because it would distort all the time. And they've obviously gotten a lot better. They've learned a lot over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
A mic company would figure.
It's interesting. This is like the Blue. Probably is very related to the Blue. It has the multiple capsules to give you multiple different patterns and so forth.
Great. It looks like a great mic. I just bought one for Daisy. Now I'm going to have to.
You should have asked me, because not only has Andy been using it for a while, but so has Randall Schwartz and Floss Weekly, and both of them been getting very good results with it. I think it's a really nice
one. I'm going to get another one.
Hey, one more story just before we wrap this up, and this just came out from Google. Thanks to the chat room for alerting me to it. Google, this is another shot across Apple's bow, is now making a Nexus 1 that works with the AT&T 3G network. So when you go to buy a Nexus 1 from Google, you'll get to choose whether you want it to work on T-Mobile's network or take your SIM card out of your iPhone and put it into the Nexus 1 and have it work on the AT&T network with full 3G speed.
I don't mean to be mean, but if I wasn't using an iPhone, I wouldn't consider AT&T.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like the hugest advantage of the Nexus 1 is that you don't have to use AT&T on it.
When I was at South by Southwest, I have to say, I brought all three phones. I brought a Verizon phone, an AT&T phone, and a T-Mobile phone.
Right.
Knowing that some of the networks wouldn't work. In fact, remember last year that AT&T just failed miserably at South by Southwest. They put trucks in, they put towers up.
Yeah.
AT&T worked great in Austin this week. Yeah. It was really interesting.
They'll be back to normal.
They'll take them all down next week.
But don't I hate it when mommy and daddy fight.
I know. Don't you feel
they're supposed to just love each other?
Come on, Google. Come on, Apple. Please don't get a divorce. What about us kids?
I'm like, they already had an affair. It's over.
Google, I know that you feel as though you're putting bread on the table, but you know that I will want to live with Apple. You know that it won't even be a weekends and holidays thing. You know that I'll want to live with Apple. Factor that into your decisions, okay?
You teenagers.
I've got Bing now. Bing works perfectly well. Their map feature is even better than yours. I can live a Google-free existence just fine.
To be perfectly fair, I think probably the 3G upgrade was so that they could work in Canada on the Rogers network. That was really but it's just a side effect.
Oh yeah, and by the way,
it's also. But maybe I'm just missing something really obvious, but it also makes it easy if you wanted to change from your iPhone to a Nexus. You don't have to change carriers.
That's exactly why they're doing this. You could pop the SIM out of your.
That's the soul. That's right.
Well, actually, I don't know. Can you pop the SIM out of an iPhone and put it in a Nexus 1? Is it standard SIM? I think it is.
I think it is.
Yeah.
It's only got one button.
That's the one button SIM. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we've gone way over our allotted time. You've invited us into your home, and we just won't leave. But now we're done.
We get a final look at the tote, please. We just want $1 more than last year.
When you walk through a store, hold your head up high.
Hold your head up high.
Afraid of the dark.
Be afraid of the dark.
Can I just say one thing, ladies and gentlemen? Just one little thing. Besides, happy birthday, Jerry.
Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you will never
pledging Jerry. I'm pledging Jerry. Take it all. Take it all.
You'll never walk alone.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Lindsay is the host of pixelcore.com, the great website for 3D artists who are learning and working together, and pixelcore.tv for the podcasts.
Lots of those.
Look for the NAB coverage coming next month.
We have a new podcast that I don't know if we've talked about much. It's called, if anyone's using Modo, it's a 3D package. We have one called Modo Shop, which we just started, so you can check that out.
Modo Shop. That's
Modo
good.
Shop, and it's starting off really well, and we're gonna have a lot more visual effects and 3D podcasts that are coming out that are specific to the applications that we use inside the Pixel Core.
Also, to Mr. Merlin Mann, we thank you for your participation, sir. Merlin is the host at 43folders.com.
I have two things to pimp. First of all, and not even my pimp, you should read what John Gruber wrote yesterday about backup. I have a post about it as well. On daringfireball.net, great post about backup. I had a couple suggestions to that, but it's something. This is going to be my muscular dystrophy. Everybody needs to back up, and that's why this. Boy, anyway. And the other thing is, my friend Dan Benjamin interviewed me for his excellent podcast, The Pipeline, and I hope you guys will listen to that. And I hope you will, in general, go listen to Dan Benjamin's podcast. It's I think is it 5x5.tv? I want to get the address right. But Dan is doing he's doing his own kind of podcast play, kind of along inspired by people like you, Leo. He's going out and he's doing his own thing, and he's doing a heck of a job with it. So go listen to The Pipeline.
You're plugging other people.
Oh, I love and I give. And the thing is, if you're a person in this industry and you have a heart, they will grind you down.
and by the way, he's using those wonderful pictures of you.
I love that photo. I love that photo so much.
HiveLogic.com for the Merlin Mann interview. It's so great. You just look crazy. Absolutely insane.
That guy took photos for 2 hours. It was for a feature in 7x7 magazine here in San Francisco. And that guy took pictures for 2 hours. And finally I was like, I have an idea. Why don't I stand on a chair in the middle of the woods and you take a picture of me? And he's like, are you serious?
It's the best picture ever. Andy Ihnatko is at the Chicago Sun-Times. Look for his great writing there. And, of course, on his own website, The Celestial Waste of Bandwidth, CWOB.com. Thank you, Andy. And you will tell us when you get an iPad, will you not?
I will tell you everything as far as you are willing to believe what I say. Cardboard. I'm telling you, cardboard.
It's the future. It's recyclable.
All right, everybody, get back to work. Break time is over.